The automatic doors slide open, and Brandon Lockhart strides into the cramped convenience store like he owns the place. In his designer sneakers and gold chain, he sticks out like a sore thumb against the flickering fluorescent lights and rows of discount groceries. His entourage trails behind him, phones out, live streaming the moment. At the counter, Elena, a weary single mother, fumbles through her purse, counting coins with shaking fingers. Her young daughter clings to her side, eyes wide, cheeks flushed with embarrassment. The total blinks on the register, $23.48. She's short. Brandon snorts. Bruh, she's really counting pennies. That's crazy. His friends chuckle, filming her struggle like it's a joke. Elena exhales, pulling out a crumpled $5 bill. I'll put the milk back. Nah, hold up. Brandon interrupts, waving at the cashier, a gray-haired man named Mr. Patel. How much for everything in here? Like the whole store? Laughter erupts. His friends egg him on. Oh snap, Big Shaq. Buy the whole place. Flex on M, bro. Brandon grins. This is peak content. A perfect viral moment. He slaps his black card on the counter. Serious, though. How much? Mr. Patel eyes him, unimpressed. You want to buy my store? Brandon smirks. Yeah. Drop a number. A long silence stretches between them. Mr. Patel crosses his arms. Then, he reaches under the counter, pulls out a dusty contract folder, and flips it open. 3 million. Sign here. The laughter stops. Brandon's cocky smirk wavers, just for a second. His friends whisper behind him. Yo, is he really gonna do it? A challenge. That's how he sees it. His ego won't let him back down. He grabs the pen, scrawls his name, and slaps the folder shut. Boom. Done. I own this place now. Mr. Patel nods. Then it's yours. Starting now. He turns to the cashier. Maria, take your lunch break. Your new boss will take over. Brandon blinks. Wait, what? Mr. Patel removes his apron, hands it to Brandon, and steps aside. The register beeps. A line of customers waits, staring. His friends stop recording. One by one, they slip out the door. Brandon is alone. The apron feels foreign in Brandon's hands. Stiff. Scratchy. He stares at the register, blinking at the buttons like they're written in another language. A middle-aged man steps forward, tossing a bag of chips and a soda on the counter. Brandon glances up. The guy raises an eyebrow. You ringing me up, or what? Brandon exhales sharply, pressing a random button. Nothing happens. He presses another. The screen blinks in error. The line behind the man grows longer. Maria, the cashier, watches from the breakroom door, arms crossed. Enter the price manually. Brandon scoffs. Yeah, obviously. He punches in a number. $99.99. The customer frowns. You serious? Brandon groans, erasing it. He types $9.99, too high again. The guy sighs, snatching his items back. Forget it, man. He walks out. The next customer, an elderly woman, sets down a loaf of bread. Brandon hesitates, then enters $1.00 and hits total. The register dings. She hands him a 5. He stares at it. Maria clears her throat. You need to open the drawer. Brandon grips the register, pulling at random sections. The line grows restless. Someone mutters. Rich kid can't even open a cash drawer. Rico, the teenage stalker, steps forward and slams a button. The register pops open. Coins rattle inside. Brandon's face burns as he hands the woman her change. By the time the line clears, his jaw is tight. His hands ache from gripping the counter. Maria leans against the doorway. Still think this is funny? Brandon glares but says nothing. Hours crawl by. He botches transactions, fumbles with bags, and loses track of inventory. Customers eye him like a circus act. When a man tries paying with food stamps, Brandon hesitates too long, unsure what to do. The man leaves, shaking his head. Near closing, a rough-looking guy pockets a candy bar and heads for the door. Brandon's chance to regain control. Hey! He steps out from behind the counter. Put that back. The guy smirks. Make me. Brandon stiffens. He's never been in a real confrontation before. Back in his world, problems were solved with money. But here? Money means nothing. The guy turns to leave. Then Rico appears. Put it back. His voice is low, firm. For a moment, the air is tight. Then, reluctantly, the guy tosses the candy on a shelf and walks out. Brandon exhales. Rico smirks. Welcome to retail, boss. By closing, exhaustion drags at Brandon's limbs. The once flashy confidence is gone. His friends haven't texted all day. Maria locks the doors. Tomorrow's truck day. Be here at 6. Brandon's lip curls. A.M. Maria laughs. Oh, you're adorable. She tosses him an old broom. Now sweep. Brandon drags himself into the store at 6:15 a.m., yawning. Maria barely glances at him as she stacks produce. You're late. He scoffs. 15 minutes? Relax. A horn blares outside. The delivery truck. Maria tilts her head. Go unload it. Brandon hesitates. Aren't there, workers for that? Maria walks past him, muttering. Yeah. You. Outside, the truck driver, a burly man named Lou, leans against the vehicle, unimpressed. You the new owner? Brandon nods. Lou kicks open the back door. Great. Start lifting. Brandon stares at the heavy crates of canned goods, paper towels, and bulk snacks. His arms already ache just looking at them. Where's the dolly? Lou grins. Broke last week. Brandon exhales, grabbing a crate. It barely lifts off the ground. He staggers inside, nearly dropping it. Rico, who's already stacking shelves, watches with amusement. Need help, boss? Brandon glares. I got it. 2 boxes in, sweat clings to his overpriced hoodie. 5 boxes in, his arms shake. By the 10th, he nearly collapses, gasping. Maria finally sighs and helps. That rich boy pride's gonna kill you. Brandon grits his teeth but doesn't argue. The hours blur. Stocking, lifting, sweating. Customers come and go, some still throwing him skeptical looks. By noon, he's starving. He spots Maria on break, eating a simple homemade sandwich. What's the deal with you, anyway? He asks, sitting across from her. Maria raises a brow. The deal with me? Yeah. You, Rico, even that old dude Patel. Why work in this dump? Maria chews thoughtfully. Because rent isn't free. Brandon scoffs. There are better jobs. She levels him with a look. For you, maybe. The words sit heavy between them. Before he can respond, a commotion breaks out at the front. An older woman, Mrs. Gutierrez, argues with a customer, a man in a suit. He points at her angrily. You can't hold up the line over expired coupons. Brandon rolls his eyes, stepping up. Look, just... He pauses. The total is $47.92. She only has $35. She clutches a can of baby formula. Brandon exhales, fingers tapping the counter. His old self would have laughed. Called it. Not his problem. Something inside him shifts. Without a word, he pulls out his wallet and swipes his own card. The register beeps. Paid. Mrs. Gutierrez's eyes widen. Oh, I didn't mean. Brandon shrugs. It's whatever. The man in the suit scoffs. Just enabling people like her. Brandon stares at him, something sharp in his chest. People like her? His voice is quiet. Dangerous. The man rolls his eyes and walks out. Maria watches him carefully. For the first time since this started, Brandon doesn't feel like a joke. Brandon rubs his temple as he stares at the inventory sheet. Numbers blur together. This can't be right. Why are we barely making money? He mutters. Maria leans over the counter, sipping coffee. Welcome to small business ownership. Brandon shakes his head. I don't get it. The store's busy. People buy stuff. Where's the money going? She sighs. Rent. Taxes. Suppliers. Wages. Asterisk asterisk. Brandon frowns. You guys don't even make that much. Maria's stare is sharp. And whose fault is that? He opens his mouth, then stops. The weight of his own ignorance settles in. His father's voice echoes in his head. People struggle because they don't work hard enough. But these people work harder than anyone he's ever met. A familiar ringtone cuts through his thoughts. He glances at his phone. Dad. He hesitates before answering. Hey. His father doesn't bother with greetings. You're still playing store clerk? Brandon's jaw tightens. I own it. Not for long. I've already drafted a buyer. Just sign and walk away. You've wasted enough time. Brandon looks around, the stocked shelves, the people who now nod at him instead of sneering, the sense of purpose creeping into his chest. No. A pause. Then amusement. Excuse me? Brandon swallows hard. I said no. His father exhales. You think you're some hero? That store won't change the world. Brandon's voice is steady. Maybe not. But it's changing me. Silence. Then, a low chuckle. You'll regret this. The call disconnects. Brandon stares at the screen before pocketing his phone. Maria raises an eyebrow. So Daddy Warbucks pulling the plug? Brandon shakes his head. Not this time. That night, as he counts the cash drawer, something strange happens. For the first time in his life, he feels proud of the money in his hands. Weeks pass. The store shifts. Employees trust him. Customers respect him. Even Rico stops giving him grief. But change attracts enemies. The corporate-owned supermarket down the street slashes prices, undercutting them. Maria frowns at the weekly earnings report. They're trying to put us under. Brandon grits his teeth. He knows how this works. His father's done it to small businesses for years. The easy way? Sell. Walk away before it collapses. But the easy way isn't an option anymore. That night, he stays late, running numbers, brainstorming solutions. Rico finds him slumped over the desk. You good, man? Brandon exhales. How do you win a game that's rigged? Rico thinks for a moment, then smirks. You changed the rules. Brandon's eyes sharpen. He pulls up the store's social media, something Patel never used. He starts posting stories. Employee highlights. Customer shout-outs. Flash sales. He turns the store into a community, not just a business. And it works. The supermarket might have lower prices, but they don't have loyalty. Customers come back, not just for groceries, but for Brandon's store. For the first time, he's not just playing a part. He's leading something real. The late-night hum of the refrigerators fills the store as Brandon runs the final sales numbers. His heart pounds. They broke even this week. Not a profit, but they survived. Maria and Rico hover nearby, waiting. Brandon exhales, a grin tugging at his lips. We made it. Maria smirks. Barely. Rico claps his hands. That's still a W. Brandon leans back, rubbing his tired eyes. He should be exhausted. Instead, adrenaline buzzes through him. Surviving the price war wasn't luck. It was effort. Smart decisions. His decisions. The thought settles into his bones like a revelation. For the first time in his life, he earns something without his father's money. A week later, the first real challenge arrives. The landlord shows up, an older man in a crisp suit, briefcase in hand. Your lease is up in 30 days. Brandon frowns. We renewed last year. The landlord sighs. Your father's lawyers found a loophole. If you don't buy the building, you're out. Brandon's stomach drops. Maria crosses her arms. How much? The number hits like a punch. More than they have. After the landlord leaves, Rico groans. Man, that's dirty. Brandon's fists clench. It's a power move. He's testing me. Maria leans against the counter. So what's the play, boss? Brandon looks around. The shelves. The customers. The life inside these walls. He refuses to let his father win. We raise the money. They launch a fundraiser. Brandon records a video explaining their situation. I never thought I'd care about a place like this. But I do. And I won't let someone take it from us. It spreads fast. Regulars donate. The community rallies. But the final amount still falls short. Brandon paces the stockroom, frustration boiling over. It's not enough. Maria watches him. How much do you have saved? Brandon hesitates. The trust fund. His own money. But using it would mean proving his father right, that he can't do this on his own. The thought makes him sick. Rico leans against a crate. Bruh, pride won't save this store. Brandon swallows hard. He checks his account. The number stares back, mocking him. A lump forms in his throat. Then, with a deep breath, he transfers every cent. The next morning, they hand the landlord a check. He eyes Brandon, almost impressed. Didn't think you had it in you. Brandon smirks. Neither did I. When the deal is done, Maria claps him on the back. Congrats, boss. You're officially broke. Brandon laughs, lighter than he's felt in years. Because for the first time, he's not just rich. He's earned something real. The air in the store feels different. It's not just a business anymore, it's his. Customers notice. They smile more. They belong here. Brandon watches as Maria jokes with Mrs. Gutierrez while bagging groceries. Rico helps an old man load his cart. This place matters. But one thing lingers. His father. The black car pulls up just before closing. Brandon already knows who it is. His father steps out, immaculate as always. The store's neon lights flicker against his expensive watch. You made quite the spectacle, he says. Brandon folds his arms. Didn't do it for attention. His father exhales. This is beneath you. Brandon's jaw tightens. You wouldn't understand. A pause. Then, amusement. You used your trust fund, didn't you? Brandon holds his gaze. Yeah. His father smirks. I knew you couldn't do it alone. Something sharp twists in Brandon's chest. For a second, doubt creeps in. But then he looks around, at the stocked shelves, the customers, the life inside this place. And he knows the truth. He did do it, not with his father's influence. Not with his name. With himself. He steps closer. The difference is, I don't regret it. His father studies him. You really think this is where you belong? Brandon doesn't hesitate. Yeah. I do. A long silence. Then, his father chuckles. We'll see how long that lasts. He gets back in his car. Drives off. Brandon watches him go, but the usual wait isn't there. For the first time in his life, his father's words don't define him. Months pass. The store thrives. Brandon is no longer the joke. He's the leader. He hires more staff. Expands inventory. Hosts events. He watches a teenage employee train a new hire and realizes, he's building something bigger than himself. A legacy. One night, as he locks up, Maria smirks. So, you gonna change the name? Brandon looks up at the faded Patel's Market sign. He thinks for a moment. Then shakes his head. No. It's not just about me. Maria grins. Good answer, boss. Brandon laughs. Because he finally understands. This was never about proving something. It was about becoming something. The morning rush hums through the store. Customers chat, carts roll, the register beeps steadily. Brandon moves through the aisles, checking shelves, greeting regulars. This is home now. Maria tosses him an apron. Stockroom's a mess. Go. He groans but doesn't argue. A year ago, He would have laughed at the idea of cleaning up after anyone. Now? He just rolls up his sleeves. A few days later, a news crew shows up. A reporter sets up near the entrance, microphone in hand. Brandon Foster, the billionaire's son who defied expectations, saved a small business, and built a thriving community. Brandon shifts under the attention. Maria elbows him. Smile, boss. You're famous. The interview is quick. Questions about his father, about money, about whether he regrets walking away. Brandon answers honestly. I thought money made you powerful. Turns out purpose does. The clip goes viral. His inbox floods with messages, some praising, some doubting. His father doesn't call, but Brandon knows he saw it. And for once, he doesn't care. Expansion becomes the next challenge. The empty lot next door is up for sale. Maria and Rico argue for weeks. ***. We could add a bakery. Or a cafe. Or a bigger stockroom so I don't trip over crap every morning. Brandon listens, considers. The old him would have rushed to buy it, just to prove he could. Now? He waits. Runs the numbers. Talks to the community. Then, he makes the right choice. They buy it. Slowly. Smartly. On their terms. The store grows, but it doesn't lose itself. One evening, Rico pulls Brandon aside. You ever think about what's next? Brandon raises an eyebrow. This is next. Rico shakes his head. I mean bigger than this. Brandon exhales. He's thought about it. Other struggling stores. Other communities drowning under corporations. Could they help? Could they expand the idea without losing what makes it special? He doesn't have the answer yet. But for the first time in his life, he's excited to figure it out. Years later, a teenager walks into the store. Nervous. Uncertain. Brandon watches as Maria hands them an apron, just like she once did for him. He smiles. Because this was never just about saving a store. It was about changing lives. The store bustles with life. Shelves stocked, customers chatting, employees moving with purpose. Brandon watches from behind the register, arms crossed. It's hard to believe how far they've come. Maria waves a clipboard at him. We need to talk suppliers. Rico passes by with a crate. Also, the fridge is making a weird noise again. Brandon chuckles. So, business as usual? Later, a familiar face walks in. Mr. Patel. The original owner. He scans the store, nodding in quiet approval. You did good, kid. Brandon stands straighter. I had help. Patel smiles. That's what makes it last. They shake hands. No words needed beyond that. One afternoon, Brandon spots a young man at the counter, staring at a total he can't afford. It reminds him of Mrs. Gutierrez all those months ago. Before the kid can panic, Rico waves it off. You're good, man. Brandon watches as the kid exhales in relief. The cycle continues. Expansion is no longer a dream, it's a plan. They open a second location in another struggling neighborhood. Same values. Same heart. ***. Maria oversees hiring. Rico handles training. Brandon? He makes sure they never forget why they started. One day, he gets a call. His father. Brandon debates ignoring it. But instead, he answers. Yeah? A pause. Then, his father sighs. You actually did it. Brandon doesn't respond. His father exhales. I underestimated you. Brandon smirks. I know. There's no apology. No sudden approval. But it doesn't matter. Brandon doesn't need it. Years pass. A framed newspaper article hangs on the wall. From billionaire's son to community leader, how one store changed everything. Brandon never brags about it. He doesn't have to. Because every customer who walks through the door, every employee who finds purpose here, ***, that's the real success. ***. One evening, as he locks up, Maria leans against the door. You ever think about what's next? Brandon looks around. The people. The place. The legacy. He smiles. Yeah. But for once, I'm not in a rush.